From the east and west, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
What's up, world? It's the one and only Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and it is that time for the premier sports betting show. And boy, oh boy, it is the Primetime Angles Live. And man, oh man, we've been doing this show for a good 6 months now. And I think we're about almost 200 episodes in already. And you know what? Can't stop, won't stop. And you know it's Wednesday, so you know who I got in the house with me right now. And I'm about to bring him in. You know this man needs really no introduction, but you already know what it is, man. The sports agent, sports radio, sports just period. My man, aficionado, my man, Mike Abadir. Mike, what's up? What's going on? Let me get you off mute, Mike. Sorry about that. Mute. Unmute.
Oh, I never did that on my end over here. Interesting.
Yeah, I tried to get you. Yeah, I tried to unmute you, and it was like, nope, got it. He got to do it.
Okay, and hey, man, that's the beauty of live radio, live television. Everyone, how are you, Pop?
I'm good, brother. How are you? It's good to see you, man.
It's good to see you too, man. You enjoying your All-Star weekend or All-Star week festivities, all that stuff?
For a guy who's a professional handicapper that runs a capping service, this is like this is our vacation week as well too. So they was like, because they even said no WNBA games until today. So I didn't even have that in my core. But you know what? We got the NBA Finals back tonight. We're good. Baseball returns tomorrow. Just a small little sample size with the Red Sox Yankees meeting, but we'll get back to baseball Friday. So we'll have a weekend to start back with baseball, start fresh. Everybody should know that if you're a sports capper or a sports bettor or something like that, this is a good time to just refresh the gears a little bit. This is like spring break for us real fast. Get yourself situated, get yourself together, because now you're going to have 6 more months of, trying to put it together and try to put together some great cards and try to keep winning, you know what I mean, Mike? Or just trying to keep consistent, because you ain't going to win every day. And that's why I try to explain to people all the time is that when you run into a rough streak, you better be ready. You know what I mean? You better have some eggs in the basket. That's why I always tell people, don't put your whole thing on one bet, and take your time. That's what I'm on. But all in all, though, I'm feeling pretty good, Mike. How's the bag going?
Oh man, you know how it is, man. It's a struggle, it's a journey, but I'm dealing with it.
Right. Hey, you know what? That's what all the legends do. You know what I mean? Every legendary player I know, from Bird to MJ, they all had some bag issues. You know what I mean? But they can still gut it out, go win the game, drop 40. That's exactly what Mike does for all of us, man. All of us, man. Mike could be in the hospital and he'll still be trying to help you make the deal happen. So,
hey, man, this is my Jordan moment.
Right. Exactly. So let's go ahead and jump into it, man. We had ourselves last night. I thought it was a damn good All-Star game. I saw every pitch, every out of the game. I thought that the game was great. And I said to myself, this is the best All-Star game in sports. Nothing compares to the baseball All-Star game, because the baseball All-Star game has the exciting home run derby the day before. Then they got an exciting celebrity game as well, too. But it's just the tradition of the game. When you start thinking of the names that have played in this game and the lineups that they've had over the years in this game, let me give you a great example. I watched the game from 91, Mike, and I felt like I was a 7-year-old all over again. You know what I mean? Because I love that game. That it was a game was in Toronto. It was at Sky Dome. Sky Dome was new at the time too.
Mm-hmm.
And the best team in baseball was the Blue Jays at the time. So it all kind of made sense in a sense. But you had guys like Cal Ripken. You had the Alomar brothers. It's just, and even Carlton Fisk, who was 43 at the time, was in that game as well too. And it's like, damn, this was such a fun game. Or Tony Gwynn, rest in peace, was playing center field that day. Barry Bonds was a part of that game. Bobby Bonilla was in that game. That game was just extra, just special because it's like all these guys I grew up watching play. And I was like, man, that's the All-Star game.
It's like Joe Carter, Ricky Henderson,
right.
and Jose Canseco and Mark McGuire. And I mean, just crazy name. Wade Boggs.
I think Nolan Ryan was in that game as well too.
What's that?
I think Nolan Ryan was in that game as well too.
Probably, yeah.
And the great Cal Ripken Jr. Of course, he was there. He was a stable piece there at shortstop for a good 15 years in the All-Star game. But that goes back to. But what I'm saying is though, and I'll let you get your point in, Mike, is that it's not like that anymore. You got a lot of guys in the All-Star game that they're not going to be. It might be their one time there. You know what I mean? We don't have superstars in the MLB anymore. And I know that's the reason why the game has kind of slowed down a little bit. But it had a bright spot, Tatis and Ohtani. And that was the talk. But we got a lot of good young players in the MLB, Mike. What were your thoughts on the game?
Well, I want to just first to piggyback on kind of where you're going with that. I was watching highlights from the 1971 All-Star game. And in that game, there were 24 Hall of Famers that came out of that game. Reggie Jackson and Willie Stargell, I think Willie Mays even was an honorary guy, and Hank Aaron, Willie McCovey. I mean, on and on and on and on. Tom Seaver, Nolan Ryan. It was an all-star game of all-star games. When you look today, you've got 42 first-time All-Stars?
Yeah.
So it's very different. I guess the real question is, how many Hall of Famers are there now? How many Hall of Famers to be are there? In other words, how many Hall of Famers do you think played in that game yesterday?
I would say
we have 42 first-timers. So to your point, people are having a lot of up and down seasons.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Up and down.
So who's consistently performing at the high level to be a Hall of Famer? I mean, we can't even say Tatis yet. He's a Hall of Fame talent, but I mean,
right.
We don't know. But how many Hall of Famers kind of emerged from that game? That's kind of the real question. It's an interesting point, though.
Right.
In terms of that game, yeah, it was exciting, man. It was fun. It was everything you would want in an all-star game. The only thing that sucked was the uniforms.
Yeah, I like the traditional way. You just showing your uniform on who you play for, and we go from there. That was just, I don't know what they were thinking about that. But, Nike's involved. Nike wants to sell stuff. You know how Nike is. Mike, you've been working with him for 30 years. You know how it goes. Nike always trying to cross-promote something and always trying to do – but I'm going to be dead honest with you. I think Nike's doing a bit too much at this time. They even had a commercial that they were like, well, this is how the future is going to look. And blah, 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 blah. And I just like, okay, Nike, relax. There might be another shoe brand that comes around in the next 10 years that makes you look pretty old. You know what I mean? Just like you did to the other shoe brands that have came around as well too, so pretty much my thing is when you say the Hall of Famers, I would say that maybe counting on my hands about a good 6 were involved in that game yesterday. We got to see how their careers go because they even said the guys that made it on the Reds made it simply because that's a ballpark that's for hitters. You know what I mean? But Castellanos is a great player. The Winkler is also a really good player as well too. But we all know that if they would have been playing somewhere, say like with the Dodgers or with say the Mets or somebody like that, these pitcher park players, where pitchers parks are at, they probably wouldn't have the same situation. They even said that last night. They said that if you're a good hitter, you would want to invest in going to places like Cincinnati and everything to continue your great hitting. You know what I mean? I said that's a good point. because that's a ballpark that you can there's a lot of spots you can hit at in that ballpark because it's small, condensed, and things like that. And come on, look at it. The Blue Jays are having a hell of a season hitting wise, is because that small ballpark that they play in. They play in a minor league park. So whenever they play at that park, it's almost like they score 10 runs every time they're playing there. They score at least more than 5 or 6 runs every single time if they win. So, pretty much my thing is like this. I think that Vlad Jr. is definitely on that list because Vlad Jr. is much different from Tatis. He's more patient. He's a little bit more quiet. He doesn't really care for the attention. And I think he knows that. I don't mean to be an ass right here, Mike, but these are facts. That his dad was much better than Fernando Tatis's father. You know what I mean? When it came down to actual baseball stats and the tradition of being a really great ball player, Fernando Tatis was, I think, 1 game at Dodger Stadium, to be honest with you. And then after that,
2 Grand Slams.
2 Grand Slams. We'll never forget that. But after that, injuries happen, other things happen. And then Albert Pujols shows up, and nobody cares about you anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it is what it is at the end of the day. But I thought it was a damn good All-Star game, and I think that Vlad pretty much put all of us on notice last night that he's here, and this is going to be multiple All-Star games for him as well, too. And I just think that he embraces everything that there is about baseball and the traditional way of baseball. Fernando Tatis approaches the game like how a Dominican or a Cuban player approaches the game down in their country. I love baseball to the fullest, but I'm going to have fun while I'm doing it. You know what I mean? But,
absolutely.
And that's great and all too, but it does get annoying after a while for some, you know what I mean? For the baseball traditionalists and things like that. I felt like when they were talking to him last night, he's a bit over cocky. You know what I mean? Like, you're a really good player. You're really, really good at what you do. But this is right now. Let's see what you can do in 5 years, and hopefully no injuries pile up because he's a very aggressive player, Mike. And being an aggressive player can get you that can fizzle you out fairly quickly. So I think that the kid needs just a little bit more patience, but he is the premium when it comes to baseball players, though. But I think I prefer Vlad a little bit more, Jeff. Mike, what are your thoughts?
Vlad definitely propelled himself to the conversation of the best player in the game right now. He did something extraordinary, which is he transformed his body. He's still a big boy, but he showed the commitment. And apparently it was Pedro Martinez that talked him into it. Pedro and his pops were like, look, man, you have very rare, raw talent. If you want to take advantage of this thing, you got to lose some weight, man. You're a big boy. If you want to stay healthy, if you want to put up the numbers, if you want to leg out a few more base hits, you're going to have to lose weight if you want all those things, if you want longevity in the game. So he lost a few lbs, and his numbers shot up to Triple Crown levels. Tatis is the more athletic guy. He's the more kind of like doing the backflips type of player. Remember like how Ozzie Smith used to do those backflips and stuff like that? Tatis is that kind of athlete. Vlad is not. But I think Vlad is maybe a better baseball player overall right now. If I had to start a team, I would go with Vlad. I think a lot of people will disagree with me, but I would go with a potential Triple Crown hitter than somebody who is shown to be a little bit injury prone so far. Hopefully he isn't throughout. But man, he makes a lot of errors, Tatis. I mean, I guess that's being critical, but he isn't the best, most consistent fielder. I'm not trying to poo-poo on the guy. I'm just saying between those two, Vlad is a worthy MVP for this game, and I think he's got some longevity in him. The only Hall of Famer, by the way, that's a shoo-in from last night's game is Max Scherzer.
Of course.
I think anybody else, if Max Scherzer retired right now, he'd get Hall of Fame votes. I don't know about anybody else from this game. That if they retire tomorrow.
Right.
And that tells you either one of two things, like you were talking about. Maybe the state of the game is lacking those types, or it's just a very young game right now, and that the future is very bright because you're going to have, a lot of Hall of Famers out of this game. Time will tell.
Right. And it's crazy because we didn't have the Bryce Harper of the world. Mookie Betts sat out yesterday. You didn't have
Mike
Rizzo
Trout.
from the Cubs. You didn't have Mikey Trout. It seemed like the game of the guys that were replacements. You know what I mean? And pretty much what I'm thinking to myself is that I feel like Shotani had way too much pressure on him yesterday, and we just need to embrace the fact that the guy can pitch and the guy can hit. There was a lot of grumblings on ESPN is saying that he needs to choose a side and da-da-da-da. And I'm just telling myself, you guys cover baseball maybe 20% of the year. Nobody needs your opinion on how Shotani is going to do his thing. Let the boy play how he plays because this provides butts in the seats, okay? Sorry that you don't have the same type of qualities in the NFL and the NBA that you do in the major leagues, but the major leagues needs any type of jolt to get it going. You know what I mean? But I feel like it's still the greatest game, and it's really starting to get its swagger back because people have to understand. Somebody tried to tell me the other day that they got too many politics in baseball. I said they have no politics in baseball. What are you talking about? They're not. They've had their little moments, but they did that because that was a peer pressure thing. But baseball keeps going. A lot of people have to understand that part. If the weather ain't bad, if the government didn't tell you to shut down the game, they're going to keep things going. Now, when they have the issues with the protesting and things like that, they just were formful. They just followed suit on what everybody else was doing because they want to respect their players because they didn't want to tell their players, no, you need to go out there and go play. And when they saw that they couldn't field 22 players that day, they said, okay, then we're going to just postpone the game until tomorrow. But they didn't get no week to do it. They got one night to do it. You know what I mean? And now you got to play a double hitter. Now you got to play 14 innings in a day. And did you really want to do that? Probably not. But you know what? You showed that baseball was a solidarity with everybody else, and that's okay. But baseball has not put themselves in the political game to where they're going to stop everything that they're doing to appease what somebody on TV is talking about, unlike the NBA and now somewhat the NFL as well, too.
You make a lot of good points, man. I don't think it's a very political game. It's probably the least of all the major sports. Right. Props to them, by the way, in terms of MLB working with the Alliance. Very big commitment, up to $150 million is going to be donated from MLB owners, from Major League Baseball to the Alliance, to the Players Alliance, which is goal is really to get more people of color playing baseball again. And why that's an issue now is because, let's face it, baseball is not necessarily the easiest game to put together, right? Like you could get a basketball and find a rim and just shoot by yourself.
Right.
You can't pitch to yourself. You can't take fielding practice by yourself. It's a game that requires other participants. And if it requires other participants, that means each one needs to have the tools to play the game or to participate. Gloves, bats, etc. And then when you add to it cleats and batting gloves and uniforms and everything, it can be an expensive game. So if you're in a poor neighborhood, let's just say, you could have one ball to entertain 10 people or 12 people, or how many gloves and bats and everything do you need to entertain a group of that same size, right? And so the Alliance is looking to invest in that infrastructure to be able to provide those things. That way, at least the expense isn't the obstacle. And I think that's a good investment. I know the RBI program is good. It served its purpose. It's produced some major leaguers. But I think now is the time for people to realize you can make a living playing baseball more likely than anything else. NBA, percentage-wise, impossible to get to the NBA, especially now that it's global. What's the chances of an American player making the NBA right now?
Right. And see, another point to that as well, too, Mike, is that we have the situation with the high schools. We don't have real high school basketball anymore. A lot of the traditional schools, like like the high school I went to, they still have really good basketball players that go there. And they probably won't lose guys to the preparatories and the private schools and everything like that. But say the school that Mikey Williams went to down in San Diego. You know, Mikey, I felt like that was one of the most selfish moves you could ever make as anybody. You know what I mean? You got a situation down in San Diego, beautiful weather, beautiful situation. You got a beautiful school that you go to, almost brand new, but it's just not enough for you. Now you got to transfer over to a school in North Carolina, a place you have nothing, you don't know nothing about, but you're going to transfer there because they're telling you got a better chance of getting to the NBA, even though they already have you as a top prospect. So what's the point of leaving your school? And then today I find out he's transferring to another school. So, you know, do you guys think this is going to help you when it comes to getting drafted in the NBA? If I'm an NBA scout, I got to ask you, why did you have to move so many schools? What's the point of that? You know what I mean? If you got the game, your team is going to be right there in the championship situation. What are you trying to do? You already play on one of the better AAU teams in the nation. You don't have to do all this traveling around stuff playing for schools just because they do certain other things that your school doesn't do. And this is because they have the boosters and things of that nature to go ahead and do that for you. But I miss these guys who come from the old traditional days of, you know, high school basketball. Tyson Chandler, Tayshaun Prince, they came out of Compton Dominguez. And Compton Dominguez supplied 25 players over a 30-year stretch to the NBA. You know what I mean? And I thought, and Compton Dominguez is a regular little high school out in Compton, by Dominguez Hills College. You know what I mean, Mike? But this made the whole area great as well, too. Compton High was able to get a piece. Centennial, Aaron Afalo was able to get a piece as well, too. And people have to remember my guy Gabe Pruitt was at Centennial too. So, you know, you got Westchester. These are great programs, you know what I mean? And I just pretty much say to myself, I feel like you can't neglect these things because they're staples. And, you know, it's great for TV as well, too. I hate watching Sierra Canyon play against, you know, Hillcrest Prep. Who the hell are these schools? You know what I mean? And then, you know, you got Sierra Canyon. They go up there and they lose to who? Corona Centennial, who's a regular high school out in Corona. Why? Because they got kids that know each other, grew up with each other. They're friends. They spend the night at each other's house every weekend. They have the chemistry to beat you. But you got Bronny, and then you got Amari Bailey and all these other guys. You got celebrities trying to date these guys' moms. You know what I mean? There's too many distractions going to a school like that. You know what I mean? You got Baller's Life there every week saying that you're going to be in the NBA and blah, 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 blah. You know, that stuff gets – if I was a parent, that shit would get stressful after a while, man. You know what I mean? Because we got to keep proving things. And, you know, when you go to regular high school, they know how good you are. And if you wind up losing, who cares? You going somewhere else after this. You lose in one of those games, they're like, well, maybe his stock might drop. You know what I mean, Mike? So, you know, that's what I'm looking at, dude. You know, I know I'm ranting and raving, but what's your thoughts on that?
It's exploitation at its finest, right? Adults have created this situation. It's exploitation at its finest, and I don't really like it at all. But you know, I don't follow the high school basketball scene like you do. I'll defer to your expertise on that. But what I will say is, back to kind of our original point, baseball, you could make a living much easier than most other sports because there's a minor league system. Right. So even if you don't make it to the very top, you could still make a living. It's not a great living, but you could at least make some money playing baseball, playing a kid's game until you're probably late 30s.
Yeah.
Right? Football, look, you don't make it to the NFL, that's it. Over. It's over for you. Basketball, if you don't make it to the NBA, you can at least play internationally if you want to. Soccer, there's a million opportunities. So, I mean, if I'm looking at it statistically, you know, if I had kids, it would be play soccer play baseball. No doubt about it.
And another great thing about baseball is that this I was a kid that played all three sports growing up. And I'll tell you first, the first one I jumped into was baseball. Baseball, I loved baseball and everything like that, but basketball took over as well. Football took over as well. But one thing I will say to you, though, the best part about being in a baseball program as a kid growing up is the team aspect of it. They really teach you how teamwork really works, and you really can be with you can really, join together. You can have a camaraderie, your comrades. In football, you might have the guy who shows off too much and you don't want to deal with him. That's the guy, hey, and Mike, you've been dealing with the NFL for years. I know you probably been at games on the sideline, and you see where defensive guys will never talk to an offensive guy, and the offensive guy is never going to talk to a defensive guy. And they're on the same team.
Yeah.
And then in basketball, forget about it. You have the kid that's the coach's son, or the coach's favorite, and all he's worried about is him. That's it. Everybody else is just on the team. But as you said before, to piggyback off what you said, I coached for almost a decade, Mike. I was a teenage coach. And in my mid-20s, I had to stop doing it because, parents, literally you went from the parents letting you run your show, letting you run your program, to where you got parents saying, well, how much time is my kid going to be able to play on the team today to make sure he can be on your team? And it's like, your kid's not even that good. You know what I mean? Seriously. Like, who told you he was what is this? You know what I mean? Well, we're paying good money. $70? Come on, man. It ain't like we set up in here and gave us $1,500 for the kid to play and make sure that he can get some time. Everybody gets the same amount of time, man. You know what I mean? Well, my son played for this team and that team. Well, he doesn't show up in practice. So what? I don't know if he played for those teams, Mike. You know what I mean? So pretty much I'm not going to say that's what ran me out. I just wanted to kind of live my life as well, too. Because people have to understand, when you're coaching, you commit so much time to the kids. You know what I mean? And if you're a kid, damn, when do you get time to have some fun? You know what I mean? And do what you want to do in life. It's a big commitment so when you see coaches coaching for 40 years, it's like, damn, man, you did an excellent job. You served the people very well, because you might have not have got paid that much, but if you're a big college coach like Coach K and them, you're gonna get your bread. You're gonna be fine with all that. But I'm talking about the high school coaches that spend 30, 40, 50 years coaching these kids. They're spending more of their money than the money that they're making off the school that's paying them most times. And it takes a long, long time for them to get that big, big check. Because I know a lot of high school coaches, and they have to put more into it than they're getting back. But they love it so much, they just go ahead and keep doing it. And some of them just like staying famous, Mike. They like having those recruiters talking about him, how great of a legendary coach he is, and, all that good stuff. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, that's what I'm looking at, is that we got a good situation with baseball. And what I'm seeing in baseball now, I'm seeing a lot of players, especially the African-American players, that are going to be stars very, very soon. Guy that I like a lot, Jazz Chisholm, absolute stud. Tariq Skubal pitched in the game last night. He gave up a home run, but he's still a stud. He's still an awesome pitcher. There's a lot of really good brothers in the league right now, and they're going to get their dues. And I think that everybody knows that you need that player to make the game what it is. Fernando Tatis is great as the face. Shohei Ohtani, great as the face. But when you bring out the Ken Griffey's of the world, the Barry Bonds of the world, hey, it's a different ball game. Everybody's watching now. You know what I mean? And, they can put their little mythical competitions together as well, too, Mike. You know what I'm talking about.
Of course.
Like McGuire and Sosa and McGuire and Bonds. And, it make us, look at it like it's just some competition. But what they really want to do, like they do in boxing.
All hype.
Because that sells was we put butts in the seats, man.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So you got to always divide that line. All right, Mike, let's get into some more baseball. I've been ranting and raving about coaching and all that good stuff. what is your second half expectations for baseball?
First thing, really quickly, I want to hit on something that you alluded to about ESPN and, making this claim that Shohei should play one sport, one position. I think that's a bunch of nonsense, because would we be talking about Shohei if he was just a pitcher?
No.
I mean, he'd just be another guy that's like 9-4 with a 3 ERA.
Right.
And his stats would be the same as Taijuan Walker.
Right.
Right. So are people talking about Taijuan Walker? He had a great first half.
Right.
He's an all-star, but nobody's really talking about him. Right. Or Freddie Peralta from the Brewers.
Right.
Or Nate Eovaldi from the Red Sox. I mean, that's what he would be. So you wouldn't even be talking about him, ESPN. Right. Now, maybe if he was like pursuing 60 home runs and focus on offense, you'd be talking about that. But what if he was just like on pace to hit 35 home runs this year? A fine total by any metrics, but you wouldn't be talking about him.
Right.
So let Shohei be Shohei. The whole intrigue is to see him attempt to do both at a high level.
Right.
That's the whole point of it. So they're misguided. Let's just say that. Second half expectations, I expect Shohei to keep it going. I think it's possible to continue that torrid home run pace, but I think he's going to end up having some really, really good end of the year stats, MVP level, as both a pitcher and a hitter. In terms of the standings, and I think that's probably what you're really getting at, I'm going to tell you what's going to stay the same and what's going to change. Staying the same is going to be the Red Sox, the Dodgers, and the Padres, and the White Sox having really good records. Now, I thought that the injuries were going to catch up with the White Sox. Since they haven't, that tells me that once they get their guys back, they're even going to be that much more lethal. The Red Sox are going to be getting back Chris Sale. So their pitching has been good, but their best player is not even there. So the Red Sox are going to be fine. The Dodgers are going to have some road bumps, but they're too talented, so they're going to be fine. Same with the Padres. I guess where that leaves us is a regression for the Giants, a regression for the Brewers, regression for pretty much everybody else, including the Astros. I mean, I think they're playing out of their minds, and I think they're a good team. But I think that it's going to be a ding-dong battle between them and the A's the whole way out. And the National League, I think the race to watch races are the NL East, the NL Central. To me, they're very wide open, and I don't really believe in the Mets or the Brewers. I like the Mets, and I predicted them to win that division. But until they start hitting, I don't think they're a true contender for a title, even with DeGrom. And the Brewers need hitters as well. So the real battle is going to be between the Dodgers and the Padres for the NL West. That's going to be the battle to watch. I do think that the Giants are going to fade out.
Well, I'm looking at the Giants record right now. I'm like, man, that would suck if you guys have the best record going into the All-Star game and literally just lose it all. But let me give you a great race, though. You just mentioned the NL East, right, Mike? The last place team's only 9 games back in that division. You got a Mets team that's actually has snail paced it. Like they literally have been knocked into first place because they win enough. Everybody else is very middling in the NL East. And then you have right breathing down their throats the team that's supposed to be one of the best teams in the league because they have Bryce Harper, Philadelphia. And then Atlanta might be taking a step back because what happened to Acuna the other day. But then you look down there and you see Washington. And Washington's heating up right now. When Schwarber gets back, they'll probably be that much better again. And then we talked about guys who could be possible Hall of Famers. It ain't ready yet, but the boy Soto is good. really, really good. And I think that he's probably the most difficult hitter to get out in the MLB because he's so smart when it comes to – he's a guy that doesn't strike out a lot. Then you got Trey Turner as well too. And then once again, we got Mad Max Scherzer. And I think if you get Strasburg back in time, if they make a good little run in August, they'll be atop of this division by September, in my opinion. But the team that stands out to me, and nobody wants to talk about them, they're 3.5 games back right now in the NL Central, the Cincinnati Reds. The Cincinnati Reds sent they had 2 guys starting in the All-Star game last night. Nick Castellanos is one of the best hitters in the league, period, point blank. And the Reds been eating up wins and eating up their division all year long. So this is a good spot for them to come out of this All-Star break and try to catch the Brewers. They already beat them 2 out of 3 on the way to the All-Star break. So when you see things like that happening, everything's coming together just at the right time for the Reds. And would the Reds be a buyer when it's time to be a buyer? I think so.
Well, here's the interesting thing about the Reds is they're like you said, within striking distance, and they won 3 in a row heading into the All-Star break, and they did all that with their best Luis Castillo stinking up the joint in the first half.
Right.
He's going to have a better second half than the first half. That's guaranteed. So look out, Cincinnati Reds. I think I could get behind that prediction, man.
Right, and then you know what? And everybody's worried about Castillo, but you got Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray got paid by New York. He got big money from New York. He was the A's best pitcher for a few years. And, he kind of got thrown around a little bit because his New York run wasn't as great as it should have been, but it's okay. He's rehashed his career in Cincinnati like others have in Cincinnati as well, too. And then when you got a big stud that's closing out games like Big Amir, the guy that tried to fight the whole Pirates bench last year, that guy is already intimidating as is 6'9", 6'10" out there as the closer as well, too. Cincinnati got a lot of things working in their favors, and I think they got unfinished business from last year when they struggled against the Braves in their first playoff appearance in a decade. That was a rushed situation for them. This year, if they can get the home field advantage, all that good stuff that comes with winning your division, I think they're going to be in a good spot this year, to be dead honest with you. And I want to send a big shout out to the Detroit Tigers for not quitting this year. I have the Tigers losing 100 games this year. They're in 3rd place in their division right now, Mike. Unbelievable. They're ahead of Minnesota.
Unbelievable is right.
You're right, because I thought the Tigers they had Miggy, and Miggy's 105 right now. So, I didn't think they had much at the end of the day to really compete, to be a team on the rise. But I've liked the MLB this year. There's a lot of teams showing a lot of heart. And you know what? They're not going to win any division, but they're building something kind of nice there. Pittsburgh. They got a guy who has the most hits in baseball right now. Nobody's even talking about him. But Pittsburgh's going to give you a tough time in Pittsburgh. And they've been doing that the last month or so as well, too, Mike.
Quietly 2 All-Stars.
Yes.
I mean, nobody's really even caught on. They're starters.
Right.
Pittsburgh Pirates had 2. It kind of reminds me, there was a time before where you had 2 kids named Barry Bonds and Bobby Bonilla. Right. And to go along with Andy Van Slyke and some other guys, so now you got these 2 guys, Reynolds and Frazier, and you got Charlie Hayes' kid. Brian Hayes. This guy's going to be a stud, man. So that's 3 bona fide all-star players. That's good enough to build a core around, man. Right. I like this. I like the Pirates' future.
Yeah, I do too. I like a lot of things that's going on with the Pirates. I like a lot of things that's going on with the Marlins right now as well too. You know what I mean? I think that Marlins team, they have a great manager who knows the game of baseball very well, and Don Mattingly. They just don't have enough talent to really back it up, but the talent is getting molded. You know what I mean? They're improving. They're getting better as a team daily. I know they're not winning a lot of games, but they're still in games. That's the whole thing. They don't quit. And in my last team that I say that you said that it's going to be between the A's and the Astros. They're going to have to watch the out there rear
Seattle Mariners,
because the Seattle Mariners are nice. The Seattle Mariners have a lot of balance in the lineup. Their pitching is a little off because they still have young arms, but Yukichi, that guy is good. That guy can pitch. You know what I mean? And I know it took a few years for him to really latch on and everything like that, but he's absolutely a stud for them right now. When he takes them out, that's almost guaranteed win for the Mariners, in my opinion. You know,
Yeah.
they play even better baseball when they have a pitcher like that on the mound. The hitters as well, too. So that's my 2 cents on second half predictions. I think that it'd be pretty formidable, but I think I got the Reds still in the Central, though. And that's a big hit right there for bettors if they bet Cincinnati
For
to
sure.
go to the playoffs this year. So we'll see how it goes. Now let's switch it up just a little bit, Mike, you know, because I got NFL Bet Exchange coming out in a month. It'll be ready the week of the season starting and everything like that. We're going to be doing a lot of promotions for it as we get to it. That's another one of my shows and everything like that. So I wanted to get out all the over-unders out the way now because we did a show that was about 3 hours last year. Like, we did a marathon live show, me and Jeff, and it was just absolutely like, okay, this was a bit much. You know what I mean? Because it took 3 hours for the show to finish because we're so gung-ho talking about every single team. So now got to break it up, 32 teams in almost 32 days. And today – we fall on the Cleveland Browns. And the Browns are coming in here with their best record in the last 25, 30 years, 11-5, coming off a season like that. Their over-under is 10.5. I looked at the schedule last night, and I really had to go back and forth with this thing. But the focus and the head coach that the Browns do have in place right now, Mike, gives me every indication that the Browns are going to be a top elite. I won't say an elite team, but they're going to be right up there with the best of the best in the AFC next year because there's just the AFC is just not as dominant as it was years ago when it had, you know, the great quarterbacks like Peyton Manning in effect and when Phillip Rivers was in his prime and all that good stuff and their teams were always successful. Now you got this new AFC where you got the leader in the clubhouse is Mahomes, and then you got this guy Baker Mayfield who everybody still has questions about, but he answered a lot of them last year. And I think with another year up under their head coach, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, so another year with their head coach, I think that what happens here is that you got a team that's going to be able to make some big moves. That's going to make some big moves. And pretty much this right here, man, I'm telling you, this is going to wind up being absolutely incredible for the Browns. They start the season against Kansas City in a premier game on CBS. That's going to be a national game of the week, all that stuff. And, you know, there's going to be a lot of implications going into that game as well, too. So I think that is going to be the determining factor to see if the Browns are going to be legit this year. But I think that they actually go into Kansas City and win that game because Kansas City is a little bit of an overhype coming into this year. You got a guy coming off of a surgery that he just had on a turf toe, and turf toe is not something that you come back from instantly. You know, so that's going to be an issue as well, too, in my opinion, for Kansas City starting off the season. And I think that they lost too many players on their offensive line as well, too. So the Browns got a big opportunity to win that game. But even if they weren't to win that game, they have 2 home games right after that. And the Browns were lights out at home last year. And I think that's simply because you didn't have any fans there to put any extra pressure on you. But all in all, though, it didn't matter. The Browns were still winning games at home. But it all leads back to the man who's in charge, their head coach, is something else. I think that he brought a new attitude with a team, with a roster that was ready to win, but they had to find their leader. And I think that's exactly why the Browns are successful now, because they found their leader. You know, you had Hugh Jackson build the thing, and his ego kind of got him out of the room. And then you had him bringing they had brought in this offensive coordinator who was a lame duck coach anyway, just because they said Baker liked him a lot. And then that guy winds up getting fired as well, too. And then you bring in your real coach, the guy that's been winning. Comes from a winning program, a winning tradition with Mike Zimmer, and he knows exactly what to get out of his players as well too. And then at the same time, you got Bill Callahan as the offensive line coach. And guess what? The Browns got the number one line in the NFL simply because of that. And everybody that deals with Bill Callahan winds up having the best line in the NFL. They remind me a lot of John Gruden's Raiders in a sense from years ago. Not John Gruden's Raiders now, but when he had the Eric Allens of the world and Charles Woodsons of the world, and all these really, really good players. And then you got a managing quarterback as well, too. But then it goes right back to the run game. So you got Kareem Hunt and you got Nick Chubb, two guys that literally solidify exactly what Cleveland Browns football is all about tradition-wise, even back to the days of Paul Brown. You start off with the run game, then you have yourself a good play-action pass, and there it is. And then they got the LSU boys as well too. So there's a lot of things when you talk about Cleveland, you get excited, you know what I mean, about this year because they got a lot of really good players on the team. And if health stays intact, a possible Super Bowl visit is not doubtful in my opinion, you know what I mean? But I think that the pressure is on, to be honest with you. And I think that all in all, though, they should be able to get themselves situated and find themselves in the playoffs and find themselves winning the NFC North this year, which is going to be very difficult because you still got the Steelers and you still got the Ravens breathing down your throat. And then you always know that little brother wants to always play a part in things as well, too. Yeah, you got to unmute.
I don't disagree with any of your points. You made a lot of very, 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 very valid points about the Cleveland Browns. However, I look at the team's weakest link, and you might not think it's a weak link. That's their quarterback. I do not believe in Baker Mayfield. I just don't.
There's a lot of people that don't believe in Baker.
I just don't think that he is a quarterback that can lead a team to a Super Bowl. I don't think he's got the skill set to do it. So how do you disguise that? Well, you do what you just they do what you just said. It's focus on that Chubb, Kareem Hunt running game. And have like a West Coast offense, short passing attack, put Baker in a situation where he's completing a high pass percentage. Don't put him in a situation where he has to throw 35, 40, 50 times. Because he's going to throw some picks, man.
Right.
He's the kind of guy that'll have a bad game with 4 interceptions. He'll throw a clunker in there. He'll have a couple of games where he looks brilliant. But he's going to have those clunkers in there. And let's face it, over a 16-game season, the teams have the least clunkers go to the playoffs. So we'll see, man. They're in a very competitive division, like you said. So it's going to be a fun team to watch. And I think defensively, look out, man. I think they're going to be really, really good defensively. And I think they could finish ahead of the Steelers. But I still think that this is the Ravens division.
Well, see, that's what, and we talked about the Ravens last week, and I think that the Ravens, a few days ago, but I think the Ravens regressed this year because I think that they're going to figure out what Lamar is doing, like Buffalo did last year, and I don't think that whole game of running from sideline to sideline is going to work every week for him anymore. You know what I mean? I think a lot of teams, the tape is out, Mike. You know that it takes about a good 3 years for him to get good footage on you. You know what I mean? And Lamar hasn't had that many bad games, but when he has a bad game, he has a bad game. You know what I mean? And so pretty much I think the jury's out on him a little bit right now. And I think they lost some key players coming into this season as well, too. And I just don't know if the Baltimore is still going to have the same, pretty much the same, moxie coming into this year. Harbaugh is getting a little bit older, and how much more time does he have to just keep losing in the second round? You know what I mean, Mike? At the end of the day, but there's a lot of, I think that they're just going to put too much pressure on the Ravens in a sense to where they got this miracle man and they got this miracle shit, and they could just work out just any way that they want to. Madden, Vic, whatever they try to do in the playbook with them. But Baltimore is the danger. They do loom the danger as well. And I think that Pittsburgh just is Pittsburgh. And we're just mentioning putting them in the race because Pittsburgh is a tradition. We know this. We know that they're a blue-collar team. But I think that the one mistake that they made was not getting rid of Ben Roethlisberger. I know everybody felt Ben Roethlisberger still had it. But after a guy throws for 500 yards and you're still like, maybe he might be the problem, that's crazy to me right there, Mike. So, at the end of the day, I just really feel like this Browns team has everything it takes to really beat up on the division, but it's going to be tough because can they win in Baltimore? Can they win in Pittsburgh? And can they not slip up against, say, little brother with the Bengals? You know what I mean? Because the Bengals always figure out a way to spoil things for the Browns. They didn't do that last year, but they could do it this year. You know what I mean? And about Baker, I think Baker's is vastly improved from his rookie year till now. You know what I mean? I think that he gets the NFL game and he gets exactly what type of quarterback he is in the NFL. And I think that these guys were custom made for each other in a sense. You know what I mean? Both were kind of thrown, Baker was kind of thrown away when he was in college, at Texas Tech and everything like that. Comes out, becomes the Oklahoma quarterback. Browns went out of business for 2 years and things like that, and it's taking them a while to get back where they need to get to. But they got the perfect storm going right now. And I know why you say this, because you kind of got your agent cap on and GM cap on. Baker's in a contract year, so his maybe his focus might not be 110% on winning football games. It might be on the security of your future as well too. So that's my last point, my last 2 cents on it. Anything else you got to say about this, Mike?
No, man, I think you covered it pretty well, man.
Yeah. All right. So pretty much, man, I'm going to like this. We're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. Even though we should have did it about 20 minutes ago, it's all good because we don't have much of it. We don't have much to talk about, but we do have the NBA finals to talk about. So you guys stay tuned. And before you guys look at this commercial break, you guys check out hatclub.com. You guys can go ahead and get yourself that drip for and get yourself 10% off on any $50 order or better. Once again, this is www.hatclub.com. You guys check them out. Go ahead and get yourself a good deal on these great hats that they have here. $50 or better will be 10% off in the show description. So you guys check them on out. And we will be right back to you in a few moments. You guys go ahead and stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles Live, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, and my main man, Mike Abadir.
The Viget app, where social media meets sports betting. Get the latest line movements in all major sports. Track your daily bets, daily contests, the NFL over-under contest that pays out $10K in cash prizes. This is a cutting-edge app that helps betting be easy. Sign up with the reference code POPDBIC and you will be able to watch my daily show, The Primetime Angles, as a resource to building that bankroll. Viget is available in your Apple or Google Store on your iOS or Android. The social sports betting app, Viget.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
All right, we're back with the premier sports betting show, the PrimeTime Anglers Live. And Mike, thoughts tonight about the NBA Finals?
The Suns are in a position to be able to put this series away. If they go up 3-1, it's lights out, game over. I think they have an opportunity to do that in Phoenix, and I think they get the job done tonight, man. I mean, that's about as concise of a summary as I could give you. I think there's just too much sunshine in the desert for a deer don't belong there, man. A buck don't belong there. They don't belong in the desert. Phoenix going to chase them right out of town, man. That's the skinny on that game. All eyes on of the sports world are going to be on them because there's nothing else going on. And I think they recognize that, and they're going to deliver on that, knowing that this is the game that you're going to get all the eyeballs. Let's face it, once it goes up 3-1, a lot of the average casual sports fans are going to lose interest anyways. So this is the game of the series right here. If the Bucks want to be able to compete, they have to win this game. It's that simple, Pop. But I think Phoenix gets the job done.
Well, I'm kind of in accordance with you on this, but I just got to keep remembering how good Milwaukee is at home as well, too. And I just really do think that the way Giannis is playing right now, the Suns don't have an answer for that. Honestly, they don't. The guy dropped.
I apologize. I misread that. I thought it said on the screen there, Bucks at the Suns logo.
Yeah,
but it is in Milwaukee,
yeah,
so I apologize. I wanted to correct myself.
Yeah, graphics got it totally mixed up. You know what I mean? It's as usual, but all good. You know what I mean? What can you tell folks? You know what I mean? So you try to get them to correct things, but it is what it is, man. So pretty much we got another home game for Milwaukee. Now, I think to myself, they have to have players step it up big tonight. See, Phoenix can have 2 players get off and they're good. You know what I mean? Last game, nobody got off. Nobody did what they were doing in Phoenix. Devin Booker was benched in the fourth quarter. Chris Paul could only do so much. Chris Paul is about my age. So, everybody always thinks it's going to be Chris Paul from 2008. But, people I understand, Chris Paul has been in the league for years. So these back-to-back games and things like that, they can kind of wear you out a little bit. So, I think Chris Paul, the extra day of rest is really good for him because you got to understand he had COVID. So he's still, recovering from that as well, too, because from what I heard, you don't truly recover from it after 10, 14 days. Your breathing still has to kind of get back in shape. And I think that he hasn't shown anything because he's a tough guy, but, he's dealing with a sore wrist as well, too. So, that's why you didn't get much out of him. But you would have said, damn, Aiden didn't show up. But Aiden did show up. It's just that he didn't get enough from his other teammates. And I think Devin Booker struggling was the biggest reason why the Suns lost that game as well, too. 1-7, 3-14. That doesn't cut it at this level. And then he was benched in the fourth quarter as well, too. So that means that your coach pretty much was dissatisfied with your performance, and he didn't want to see you go out there and keep embarrassing yourself and keep embarrassing the team as well, too. So thing is, tonight they're gonna be all in it. And Mike, you have a great point about running away with this thing because the Suns have won all their game fours. They beat the Lakers in game 4. They swept the Nuggets in game 4. They beat the Clippers in a very important game 4. And tonight, once again, they're in a very important game 4. And I think that the Bucks need to be all in. This needs to be a full team effort for the Bucks to win this game tonight. I think that they will be ahead in this game, but I think the Suns figure out a way to make this game really, really close. And if they take it tonight, then this series will be over because once they get back to Phoenix Saturday night, just go get the champagne ready, in my opinion, because Saturday night's a perfect night to win a championship. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But I think that the NBA wants this thing to go a little bit longer than 5 games. So I'm kind of banking on the fact that the Bucks win close, but the Suns can wind up covering in this game tonight. Mike, real quick, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that the Suns are going to actually blow these guys out.
Well,
I think they cover the 4.5.
Money. You got the dog money tonight, Mike. So you got the plus 150. And see, the line is saying that they should win tonight too, because usually when you get a 4.5, it should be a plus 165, plus 170, something of that nature. And it's not. It's a plus 150. That's what you get on a 3.5. So that's quite possibly could be bet down to a 3.5 as we move forward to the tip of the game as well too. So I think the late money will be coming in on Phoenix tonight.
Yeah, and I think because they're going to cover that they're getting 4.5, so that's a pretty safe cushion. But I think money aligning it is the way to go.
I would agree. Because if you're a Phoenix fan or you're a Phoenix backer, just go ahead and go all in with this thing and win you some money. But honestly, I think the Bucks start fast tonight. To be honest with you, Mike, I know that it's been all Suns, and they're going to keep reiterating that. And every time they keep reiterating things, that's when it works against these teams. You know what I mean? And we'll see how it goes, though. But it should be a really good game tonight. I don't want the series to end on Saturday. I'd much rather get us 6 or 7 games here because both these teams know that they weren't supposed to. Well, the Bucks possibly could have been here, but Phoenix really was like, wow, we got here. You know what I mean? And pretty much I want to see the series go a little bit longer. And I think the NBA will want to kind of see it go a little bit longer too. So maybe they could pick up some ratings on this thing as well too.
I'm sure the NBA would love that, man.
Right.
Look, all pressure is on the Bucks. This is a must-win for them tonight if they want to make this a series. And let's face it, they've now been one of the best teams in the NBA for several years running. So pressure's on them to prove that they belong. Pressure ain't on Phoenix, man. They came out of the blue. So, Milwaukee, let's do or die, guys.
We'll see. Let's see if they got somebody for Giannis tonight. Giannis is over 34.5. Will he get the trifecta and get 40 points again tonight? We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But these are my bets for tonight, Mike, in the game, because this is the only game I got. Under 220.5 tonight. I got the Bucks starting out fast in the first quarter. And I got the Suns going under 108 tonight as well, too, on the team total. Brook Lopez over 10.5 points tonight. Cameron Payne over 6.5 points tonight. I think you need a big effort from Cameron Payne and not have to just put everything on Chris Paul's shoulder, because I really do feel like Cameron Payne was a big difference in this series when he had that huge game that he had earlier in the playoffs as well, too. And if you can get somewhat half of that tonight, this should be a good deal for the Suns tonight as well, too. And if Brook Lopez gets off, then that's just more the merrier for the Bucks. So what are you thinking? And is there any real big sharp bet that you had tonight for the NBA Finals?
I like what you've put together here. My only concern is the two unders, especially the Suns under 108. Because I do think that this is going to be what. Here's the thing: if you think it's going to be a close matchup, then you always have to factor in overtime. Overtime is not a friend of unders. So if it's not overtime, then what are the options? You win by 1 basket, 2 points. You win by 2 baskets, 4 points, or 5 if it's a 3-pointer, obviously, or 3 baskets. I mean, that's really what an NBA comes down to. An NBA game, a point spread game, etc. So if it's going to be the Suns that are doing it, then the 108 total is going to be threatened. That's for the first half, right?
No, this is team total for the
team total. Excuse me. What am I saying?
The Suns.
So I think that the Suns, I think they could put up 114, 115 in this game, man.
Okay, we'll see. Hopefully that they get the shooting that they need from Booker tonight so they can go ahead and achieve that. But we'll see how it goes, though. You know what I mean? Then you got DeAndre Ayton, who needs more touches, I think. You know, Chris, Devin, to just take 5 lesser shots, let him get those shots, and maybe you could just walk through the Bucks tonight. You know what I mean? Make Giannis play a little bit of defense too, as well. So we'll see how it goes, Mike. But all in all, I think that we're going to have us a really good game tonight. I know that we all been kind of anticipating it. You see, you wind up missing the finals when they take these extra days off. Like, oh, man, there's no game tonight last night. You know what I mean? Now it's the game tonight, and you might have something else to do. You know what I mean? So we'll see how it goes and see how it shakes out. But I think all in all, it should be a good night tonight. And I look forward to it. I think that the second half of the season for baseball is going to be exceptional, where we got about 8 more Sundays until we get to the NFL as well, too. I can't wait till week 1, Vegas Adventure that weekend. So, I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a lot of fun as well, too. So pretty much, man, we got a lot of sports going on for the next 8 weeks or so, as well as we roll into another awesome football season as well, too. It's a throwback year, isn't it, Mike, this year? It's like the 105th year or something for the NFL.
Something like that, man.
They're rolling out a lot of throwback jerseys. That's why I'm asking you that.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't understand why you would celebrate the 105th year, but okay, I got you. You know what I mean? That's not a golden anniversary or anything like that, but we'll see how it goes. But all in all, though, Mike says take the money line tonight on the Suns. I say take the under 220 and a half. So you know what? You got some sharp bets there. So we're going to see how it goes. You got plus 150 on your side if you do take the Suns tonight. And then you got to go ahead and sweat it out like I'm going to do tonight with the 220 and a half.
There you go.
Two out of 3 games have went over. But the way that both of those series, the way that Phoenix hasn't had a lot of overs in this playoff, that's the only reason why I'm doing this tonight. So I think that the home court advantage will have a little bit of say in that, but this game is up for grabs, in my opinion. And the best team shall win, Mike. We'll see how it goes.
The cool thing is that we can both win. I could win with my plus 4.5. I can win with my money line, and they both can be under the total.
Right. 2-for-1 special, Mike.
Right. So if it's like, how about this? If it's like Phoenix 104 to 103, we all win.
Yes. Big time. Yes. Big moments. So with that, you guys make sure to catch Mike tomorrow, 4 p.m. for his show. I'll be back tomorrow at noon. Hopefully I'll let you guys know because I don't know. There's not too many sports to talk about, but the show must go on. We'll figure out some topics and everything like that. So thank you, Mike, so much for coming.
Thank you, my friend. I always appreciate it.
You guys make sure to check him out tomorrow. He's going to have our boy, It's Me, Gino B, the TVG legend himself. You know what I mean? And hopefully we can bring in we can maybe talk, maybe get Mike and Gino on a quick little segment on Horsing Around, see what their pick 4 is looking like this weekend on Saturday at where the surf meets the turf over at Del Mar. See, Del Mar is exciting.
It puts a smile on my face, man.
What you call it is spring break for horse racing when they go to Los Alamitos. It's almost spring break for me too. But man, we back to Del Mar. Del Mar starts Friday. I know it's going to be exciting. They got the Oceanside going on. We're going to have a 14 horse field in the first race as well too, which will probably yield a 10-1 winner. So be ready to bet a horse that's somewhat of a shot. So if you got a horse in that race, say the horse has won at Del Mar before and he's going to be a price, you better jump all over it. I promise.
Absolutely.
I promise you. I'm serious. So you better dig deep into those forums and don't be overlooking people as well too. Horse finished 7th at Santa Anita means absolutely nothing at Del Mar. It means absolutely nothing. Seriously. So all in all, thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you, Pop. Appreciate it.
This is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles Live with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, and my Wednesday correspondent, my main man, Mike Abadir. And as I always say, if you have a hunch, bet a bunch. Always bet with your head, not with your heart. The movement is moving, and we are Gone.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.